two things I'll say, and I'll turn it over to Lonnie real quick. You probably heard the dictum, and I think it originated with Karl Barth, who said you should preach with a Bible in one hand and a newspaper in the other. I think about that often because I try to do that most every Sunday. I also think about that because if you're reading the Bible really, really, really well, but the newspaper really, really, really poorly, you can still come to some god-awful conclusions. And some people are in trouble in our day, not because they're not reading their Bibles well, so we could talk about that, but because they're not reading their newspaper well. And this is an effort to teach us how to do both. Truth matters in both of those arenas. I've also been thinking about this, and I would encourage you to think about this as Lonnie teaches and also in the interim in between. What do the people of Russia think is happening right now? And why do they think that? Back to the question of the Bible and the newspaper, if they are reading their Bibles well, but are not discerning the world well, I'm not sure that it's all that much good. Part of what it means to be Christians in the world today is to be discerners of the truth, whether that's deep wisdom of the ages or what you're seeing on the 5 o'clock news. Both of those matter. And this class is an effort in that direction. Lonnie's going to teach tonight. Next week we're off because it's spring break.
Praise the Lord.
And when we come back 2 weeks from tonight, by the way, no activities here, not just us, no youth, kids, or anything next week because of spring break. 2 weeks from tonight, I'll be leading the discussion. And it'll be in a similar vein. And then Lonnie will finish us off the next week. So, glad you're here. Without further ado, Mrs. Allen Ball.
Still not used to it. Went from the 1 syllable to the 3 syllable here. Pass these around, my dear. You know, now I've got a handout. Gotta have a handout.
Right.
Can we share?
Always. So, I have adult ADHD. Let's just lay it all out tonight. So today around 4:30, I went, I want to flip everything I planned backwards. So I did. So we'll just see how it works. Y'all are my guinea pigs. So my mom just said in front of a public sphere that she gave up on me in 8th grade, trying to rein me in. 8th grade, it was a rough year for little Lonnie's son. And what's really funny is on my way home today, I was trying to think about the time in my life I thought I knew the most. And guess what year I landed on? 8th grade. In 8th grade, I think I thought I knew more than I've ever thought any other year of my life. Also, this is why I will never again teach middle school unless my options are that or I don't even know. I mean, I do not want to teach middle school ever again. I thought I knew a lot. I trusted my gut instinct, and my gut instinct led me astray time and time again. The older I get, the more I realize how little I know. I think Preston last week talked about these 2 ruts on the side of this road for us. One is that we decide we know it all, that we just automatically assume that every piece of information is good information. The other rut is that we become overly skeptical. No one is ever an expert enough for us. No one can ever explain it enough. Nothing is ever factual enough. We need to find a way to live in the middle. And the middle isn't a good term for it because we're going to be zigging and zagging all over. We're going to go, okay, I have some healthy skepticism, and I'm going to try to figure out what actually is true. And I'm going to trust this expert with some healthy skepticism. And I'm just going to continue to zig and zag. And so I hope today we learn how to zig and zag a little more together. So this is one of my favorite videos to show because we think we know more than than we actually know. And I will just say that the announcer, the game show host in this never lies, not once. Chris Ellis.
What?
I have faith in you. You can do hard things.
Yeah, it should be sharing the sound.
Let Chris figures that out.
What?
Let's review from last week. So we said last week that we have 6 different purposes for information. And this is step 1 for sorting the insane amount, I think it was 127 newspapers worth of information that you get every day. And by the way, you don't choose this. This comes to you whether you want it or not. Even if you throw your phone away in an ocean, it's following you. Entertainment, pretty obvious. Advertising gets a little more innocuous.
Do you have a few minutes?
Yes. Make it happen, Chris.
All right, here we go.
Knew you could do it.
I don't believe you, I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I don't believe anything you're saying.
Excuse me, do you have a few minutes to play the easiest quiz of all time?
I do, actually.
This is how it works. I'm gonna ask you a question. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules.
No rules.
There's no rules. Are you ready?
Yes.
Finish this iconic film quote, blank. I am your father.
I'm gonna go with A, Luke.
Luke.
Luke, I am your father?
Wrong! It is actually, no, I am your father.
I don't believe you.
Number 2, which accessory does the Monopoly mascot wear?
Okay, I'm picturing in my head.
I think a monocle?
Monocle.
A monocle.
Incorrect. It's actually none of the above.
That was my second choice.
You've got me doubting myself now.
Maybe you'll get this one. What is the name of the fire-fighting bear?
Smokey the bear.
Wrong. What phrase activates the Queen's mirror?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
No. Remember, there are no rules.
I can look on my phone?
Yes.
Oh, well, that would have been easy.
Yeah, but going on, we can do that. You ready? Where were fortune cookies invented?
I'm going to check.
San Francisco?
No.
It says San Francisco.
That's what the internet says.
It's sometimes good to check multiple sources.
Oh.
How many senses do humans have?
This is a 2015 article.
5.
Want to maybe double check that with another source?
Okay, it totally says 5.
You should have double checked.
Oh.
Possibly as many as 30 plus. That would indicate that it's to be determined.
You got it! Who famously said, I can see Russia from my house?
Oh, Sarah Palin. I don't even need to look. Sarah Palin.
Do you want to look it up? Take your time. We encourage it.
I don't know this source, so I don't know if I can trust it.
Double check.
Okay, actually, it says that it's Tina Fey.
Tina Fey said it?
Correct! Yes! Who famously claimed, I invented the internet?
Al Gore claimed to have invented the internet.
Did he say, quote, I invented the internet?
It says it's not actually true. I'm going to say none of the above.
And you would be correct, correct, correct!
Yes!
Woohoo!
All right, let's
Yeah! What did you take away from this?
You gotta fact check.
Check your facts and check them from a reliable source.
It always pays to double check and make sure you're correct.
So that's the 2016 election when we were at the height of fake news extravaganza. So those people just went off their gut instinct, right? I would have answered most of those questions the exact same. I 120% thought it was Luke, I am your father. Please know that I Googled it immediately the first time I watched this video to prove the video wrong. Video's right. So after the host says there's no rules, what do? They check their phone. And they pull up that first Google hit, right? The one that's nice and pretty and pops up as a picture, not an article, so you don't even have to really read it. Have you noticed how nice and easy Google makes that first hit for you? But what happened? Was it always right? No.
Generally, it was wrong.
Yeah, because how does the Google search algorithm work? Are things ranked by verifiable sources on the Google search page?
By hits.
By hits and by your AI profile, which we will get to later today, that personalizes your Google algorithm. So mom and I have an age gap. Sorry, love you. She's going to get different hits because of that. Gender is going to provide different hits. Zip code is going to provide different hits. This is significant. It means that when I only rely on that first result, it's personalized and it's often inaccurate. Chris, if you'll go to my next one.
I don't believe you, I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me?
Never.
Is that the next one from that, or that
Next
it?
slide.
Next
Sorry.
slide.
So we know we have entertainment entertainment, we have advertising, which is slipping in more and more places we don't know. We have opinion, opinion journalism, editorial, all of those are interchangeable. We have propaganda. We'll talk more about that. We have raw information. Those are the security cameras, your Ring doorbell, court records, and then we have the news, which hopefully is verified and unbiased, okay? So let's think about one thing I did not spend much time on last week. I threw out the term meme, and then I let it go. That was my bad. I hang out with high schoolers all day. So next slide, my dear. This is a classic meme. Do you know how old that word is? How old is it? Come on, Kale.
Coined in like the 70s.
Yes. Richard Dawkins. Y'all, no, so classmate Kale. Kale's always going to be my favorite because Kale knows that meme was termed in the 70s. Richard Dawkins' 1976 book, The Selfish Gene, used this term meme. And this is pre, social media, clearly. And so he defined it as a unit of cultural transmission or imitation. This idea that culture is going to come between us, but not in a family unit necessarily. It's not genetic. It's not how we have pushed culture forward before, right? In our tribes and our villages. This is going to be fashion. This is going to be music, slang, catchphrases, ideas that would catch on, that would go viral, right? Bell bottoms were a meme in the 70s. One day, someone decided this was the look, and then their friend copied it, and then their friend copied it, and then their friend copied it, right? They copied, they modified, they shared, and then it repeats. This is the cycle of a meme. Now we would define it, and I think Webster did, in 2015. The Webster Dictionary says, it's an amusing or interesting item, such as a captioned picture or video that is spread widely online. This is the original meme, that is this a pigeon? It comes from a 1995, I think, anime, where clearly the dude is looking at a butterfly and says, is this a pigeon? I've never watched this. And yet, I get the modification of it. You'll look at the middle schooler one at the bottom. This is why I will never teach middle school again, one of numerous reasons. The guy is titled a middle schooler. He is looking at the Axe body spray, and he says, is this a shower? Because that is what all middle schoolers think. I once taught for almost a full year at an all-boys middle school. Never again, not once. So the original meme posted to Tumblr in 2011-ish. Where it just lives and dies. Tumblr in 2011 is like the Wild West of the internet. Everything is on there, okay? It's unregulated, it's the underground. Tumblr's the safer version of 4chan and Reddit, but still like pretty Wild Westy in 2011. You would just dump content there. And so this gets dumped, someone takes a screenshot from this video and they dump it on Tumblr. And nothing really happens. And then all of a sudden in 2018, it blows up. And all of a sudden people start modifying it, right? So here you have an insider, the pigeon meme. Is this content? My body, any slightly uncomfortable physical sensation. Is this death? All day, every day. So it's getting modified. And I get it. It's a little piece of culture from an anime I've never seen that's modified and then shared, and the cycle repeats. Chris, will you go to the Know Your Meme link?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't know there was a link. There you go.
No worries. So hear me say, Know Your Meme is not a PG website. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. Okay, love you, need it. It is useful, especially for those of you who have small humans, because if you've ever looked at a meme on their phone and gone, what does this even mean? This is great. This is where old people can go and figure it out. So here we go. Oh, I was wrong. 1991. Dang it. So it was part of the anime, and if you'll scroll for me, scroll, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. There's gonna be a chart, you'll see it. Have it with me. Keep scrolling, scroll a little more, scroll a little more. Yeah, there, stop. Okay. So scroll back a little seconds.
Tell what I've been shopping for too.
Yeah. Enjoy. I would like some shoes. Or you would like some shoes because this is your computer. So this is a Google Analytic chart that you see. And so it shows you the yellow is that a pigeon? Green is this a pigeon? The red is the original language of the anime, and then the blue is the actual English title of the anime. And you can see the larger it is, the more hits we got. And look at that beautiful spike in 2018. All of a sudden, the "Is there a pigeon" meme blows up, right? There's no reason for this. It just happens. Someone on the internet decided it was funny, modified it, and made a new version of it. And in 2018, it became the most popular meme of that year. Why? I don't know. No one does. I can now try to figure out, now, is there a pigeon meme is pretty innocent, right? It's a weird anime with a weird guy asking, is this a pigeon? I can try to get to the source of this. And we have pretty well. Know Your Meme does some historical research. Maybe this is what I'll do when I retire from the public school system. And I can kind of figure out sort of where it comes from, but even then, I still don't have a direct history. Okay? Chris, you'll go back to my slideshow to the next one. I surveyed some of you and some others to send me some of your favorite memes. The wonderful Katie Walden is currently super into possum interacting memes. I support this all day, every day. These are hysterical, right? Like, think twice, bestie, I don't even think once. I find that funny. When I read it aloud, it loses its charm, though. I mean, all day long. Queso dog, that's real. The angel one, this is some good, like, Southern Christianity meme goals, right? Like, and the angel said to him, stop hitting yourself, but he could not stop, for the angel was hitting him with his own hands. I get it. That's my culture. It's speaking to me. But the others get a little squishy. So the Starbucks meme is from a couple of years ago, when for like 5 seconds on the internet, the big thing was that Starbucks was the worst company ever because they had taken Christmas off of their cup and it was just a red cup. Does anyone vaguely remember this? It was a big deal for 2 minutes. Okay. And I was confused at the time. This is a meme that circulated at that time. If one family and out of every 3 churches adopted a child from foster care, there would be no more orphans in the United States. But please tell me more about how offensive this red cup is. That, my friends, is it meant to entertain? Is it informing? Is it selling you something? Is it provoking? Right? When I read that, I have a little stir of righteous anger, right? Why isn't the church doing enough about adoption? I've seen our foster care system. I've been a public school teacher for 18 years. What are we doing, right? I have some righteous anger deep in my soul when I see that meme. It provokes an emotional response for me. And so, in whatever year that was, a lot of people shared that meme. They had a similar response, right? The cup debate is stupid. We should really be talking about like practical missions of the church. If the church isn't taking care of the orphans, what are we doing? And so they hit share without thinking twice because it made them feel something. It provoked a response. What about the Great Depression one? Let's see what the top of it says. Let's restore America to how it used to be before social programs, unions, and minimum wage screwed it all up. What's the purpose of that meme? Is it entertaining? Is it provoking? Do you know how hard it was to pick memes for my church family? Just FYI. Do you know the struggle that I had? Okay. That were clearly provoking memes, but also I enjoy worshiping here. And I don't need to stop like whatever it is, a heresy trial for the deacon chair. Not today. So, look, you know the struggle. It's fine. So that's provoking a response. I taught history before I became a librarian. I can tell you all you need to know about the history of social programs in America. I got you. That meme doesn't tell me that though. It's not giving me a nuanced argument about the importance of social programs for taking care of the poor. It's not giving me a nuanced argument for how social programs were instrumental in getting us out of the Great Depression. It is provoking an emotional response. And so without ever thinking twice, people hit share. What's happening right now is we're doing the same with memes coming out of the Ukraine. This is real weird. We have one of the biggest crises. Thank you. Lord have mercy. 2 days till spring break. That we have ever had. We just this weekend had a journalist from Arkansas who was killed. We are struggling with getting good information out, and the internet is still providing us with all the information we could ever need. Chris, hit my next slide for me. Please. So here's a recent meme that's come out of the Ukraine. Isn't it a delight? So this one's been circulating with the claim that this is, these are bodies after a Russian attack in the Ukraine. It's not. This is footage from a protest in Vienna, Austria. The original is a video. We can't hear the audio, but it's not from the protest. The audio is actually taken from a recent news broadcast. So they've taken video from a protest and taken audio from a news broadcast and combined them, right? Because everyone can do that now on their phone in 30 seconds. Editing a video is not hard anymore. You give me 2 minutes with you and I can make it happen, I promise, okay? I don't have to spend time editing a video now. I pulled up iMovie, I took my video, I took my audio, I merged it, I uploaded it. And that's what happened here. When I see this scrolling through my Facebook, I have a gut response to that, right? My heart says, this invasion is horrible. These innocent Ukrainian people are suffering. Look at this video of them. They can't even bury their dead because of this invasion. And so I share without ever checking it. I am not telling you to be a less empathetic person. Please hear me say that. Your gut response is always going to be your gut response, right? That's why it's your gut. We didn't have to manufacture it. It's that little reptilian brain in the back. It just says, man, that's bad. That's horrible. We should be doing more. What are we doing for them? How can we help? And so we hit share. There's been a lot of conspiracy claims, spreading doubt about the reality of the situation in the Ukraine. Again, it's been hard to figure out what's real and what's false because of this. How would I go about fact checking this? Maybe I'm going to search for the video and try to find the original source. That's going to take more than 5 minutes, guys. I could use the audio, right, and transcript it a little and search for that. That's going to take me a good 10 minutes. It's going to take me at least 15 minutes to try to fact check this video. And I'm pretty decent at this. Some of us, it might take up to an hour. Are we going to take an hour to look at this before we share it? That's what we've got to figure out. Go to my next one. So this is another one that's been circulating lately. Its purpose is clearly to provoke. We've got a lovely picture of a megachurch. Funny how we haven't seen a single American megachurch offer anything to the Ukrainians. Brr. I have a gut response to this. I don't love a megachurch. That's why I hang out with y'all, okay? Like, that's not my happy place. I don't want 4,000 people worshiping with me. I like you people. My gut's like, man, big churches, too much money. Look at that fancy sanctuary, right? And so someone hits share. It's false, incredibly false. In fact, the actual church that this is came back and said, look, here are the receipts. We are trying our hardest to give to the Ukrainian people. But no one who shared it looked. If you look real hard in the top left-hand corner, you'll see that originally on Facebook, this came, well, I shouldn't say originally, because who knows where it came from originally. But where I traced it back to was an account called the Other 98%, right? It's a hyper-liberal account. The idea being the 98% of people who aren't, multi-billionaires, right? Or multi-millionaires. They have a viewpoint. A lot of people who see this account on Facebook are sent there because their algorithm, their personalization said, you would like to see political content like this, things that lean left. And so they saw it. It provoked an emotional response, right? Justice, righteous anger. And they hit share. Misinformation is not usually a troll farm. Hear me say it can be. 100% it can be. But we are more likely to share false things than true. Because what's the true story about church giving to the Ukrainian people? Someone sum that up in a real quick 30 seconds for me. Anyone? No, it's nuanced, right? The real story of the Western church engaging with the Ukrainian people right now is really complicated and honestly probably pretty boring. Well, okay, American churches are collecting offerings to help missionaries evacuate. Those mission agencies are helping people they know and organizations they know on the ground. That's not exciting. No one's super thrilled about this. That's a dissertation or a thesis. And it's long. I'm probably going to need like 4 or 5 paragraphs to explain this. That didn't take me very long to read though. And I can just share it. It's easy. I get a little dopamine hit because I have a little righteous anger and then I did something, right? I hit that little share button. And my little brain goes, haha, took care of business. I did nothing, okay? Do you know that you get a little dopamine hit every time you hit that button? That's probably not great for us. So what do we do with this? If you'll click on how to fact check a meme, Chris. Yep, thanks. Fact checking a meme is real wonky. Reverse image search. That's a great way to do this. If you ever see a picture and you're like, is that real? Save that sucker and reverse image search it. Chrome does it real easy. You just right click the image and say search Google for image. iPhones does it similarly. But if you don't have Chrome or iPhone, there are other ways to do it, okay? Yeah, there you go. Look at Chris even demoing. You are the best, Vanna. Right? You're welcome. There's a website called TinEye that also will reverse image search for you, but most browsers now will do this. So this is a meme that got shared a while ago. It's the Seahawk football team celebrating in their locker room, and this man has a burning American flag. Scroll for me a little. Thanks. Does it look like what they care? You know, unpatriotic, horrible people, but professional football players, no respect for America, right? Scroll for me a little more. A little more. So we're going to search for it. And here's my results. The first one, revealed to be fake. Dear Lord, very fake, okay? One Google image search. That's probably only 30 seconds for most of us. That's a pretty easy fact check. It's a great first step. Photoshop is a whole different world now than it was even 5 years ago. Anyone get bored one night and play with the filters on TikTok or Instagram? Out yourselves, I know you have. Thank you. Those of you with children especially, you have totally gotten bored and tried to see what you look like with purple hair. Those kind of filters and that kind of photoshopping is now available to a wide amount of the population. Where before, a realistic Photoshop was a very specialized skill. So my sister-in-law doesn't do this anymore, but she was one of the best journalism teachers in the country.
My child had her, and I can attest to that.
See, I like this. This is a good small world. And she has excellent Photoshop skills. When I got divorced, we cut my ex-husband out of a family photo. It now is in my dining room. It is beautiful. Lisa did a great job. You hear me? Like she is good stuff. Okay, I love her a lot. You don't need Lisa's skills anymore. You just need a phone. Smartphones are great. I really like mine. I'm a little attached to it. But smartphones have made things easy for us in an interesting way. You'll scroll down a little more, Chris. So this is the original post from the Seahawks actual Twitter page. I assume they won something. I'm going to be real honest. Professional football is not it for me. I was raised in Durham, North Carolina. Like Duke basketball was all there was. So this is not my thing. But they won something, and they're just celebrating, like one would do if you win something. It's a really innocent photo. I have no bad feelings about this photo. Look, people celebrating, happy, joyous. But his stance is open, and his hands were positioned just right. And that was a really easy Photoshop. At the time that Photoshop was done, there was a lot in the news about professional athletes kneeling before games. And so that original meme, right, it was meant to provoke the feeling of injustice, outrage, millionaire athletes who aren't appreciating our country. And so people shared it without ever fact checking it. I struggle internally, let me confess my sins to you, with people who do that. I have a hard time with people who I know are educated, kind, loving, striving to be godly people who share things without checking it. That is because this is where I live, right? I have worked this year to have a little more grace. Because I have these gut responses too. There are memes that get me and I go, oh gosh, okay, no, let's look into this, right? Let's move on. So what do we do with all of this? I know that one of the reasons I'm going to see the meme, the Ukrainian meme, will you go back to my slideshow? It's going to be slide 17. One more. Thanks, sir. I know that one of the reasons I'm going to see that Ukrainian meme from the other 98% is because of the breadcrumbs I have spread around the internet. This is a complicated topic. I used to be an elementary librarian, and I would talk to little kids about their digital footprint. You have a digital footprint that you leave in the sand, and we need to make sure it's a good one. That analogy doesn't hold anymore. It's not just one thing. It's a ton of little breadcrumbs that you leave around the internet. You might have noticed recently that when you download an app, it asks you a question these days. Has anyone noticed that? What question does it ask?
Personalized data tracking.
Are you okay with personalized data tracking? Right. Now, hear me say, I personally have mixed feelings about this. My social media platform of choice is Instagram because I'm 40 years old and a female. And so that is my demographic. And I love the personalized data tracking that occurs on Instagram. It tells me about really cute, nerdy librarian t-shirts and cardigans. I get funky eyeglass ads, okay? I love that it knows this about me. I love that it knows who I am. It's very easy, and my bank account loves it too. When I'm like, buy that off of Instagram, I'm sure it'll be delightful. But it's tracking more than just that. So what all of these entities are doing is they are collecting tiny little pieces of you that you give off, whether you know it or not, and building an AI version of you. So somewhere out there in this world, terrifyingly enough, is an AI Chris Ellis. I guarantee they know he's white, that he's male, and that he's in his 40s. I guarantee they know that he has sons, that he has a weird Baylor obsession, and that he's from Florida, which explains so much. I guarantee they know about his truck and the sups and his other toys. Stand-up paddleboard, for those of you who don't speak the lingo. Okay, I guarantee the AI Chris Ellis has all of these components. I know that they probably know his travel plans this summer while he's on sabbatical, because I'm sure he's been Googling a lot about national parks. And the AI Chris Ellis is what's tailored. They know if Chris Ellis spends 20 seconds versus 30 seconds looking at a Facebook post. Not even if he liked it. Do you hear me? That's not the data they're tracking. Did he stay on it long enough? And if he stayed on it a short amount of time, they're going to give him something different. If he stayed on it a long enough amount of time, they're going to give him the same. Here's what happens. Let's say I've gone to the world of book talk, because that's a thing that exists. That is the TikTok channels that talk about books. My high schoolers bring me things they found on Book Talk all the time and want me to buy it. Or they'll do a library display with Book Talk. And I'm like, great, cool. So I have spent all of my time on Book Talk. I don't like anything on TikTok. I'm just watching the video, maybe even twice, because it'll go fast and I need to catch a title and I'm old. It knows that. So the next time I log into TikTok, it automatically starts offering me more Book Talk. Well, that seems pretty innocent. I'm a librarian, their book's great. But what if it's a little darker? What if it's a conspiracy theory about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and I watch it twice? And the next time I log into TikTok, it gives me another conspiracy theory, and I watch it twice. And the next time I log into TikTok, it gives me 4 more conspiracy theories, and I watch them twice. All of a sudden, my algorithm has learned this is the content I want to see, and I have found myself in a darker corner of the internet than I knew. So how do we get there? Well, here's some good vocab to know, because teacher. Online tracking, right? These are the apps, the websites, the third party that are collecting this information. Again, it's not just likes. I think a lot of people think that. It's not just clicks. It's how long you stay. Your eyeballs are profitable because how do they make their money off of you? Ads. And you can't see the ad if you don't stay long enough. All of these services are free. Free. Free? Free? Because you're the product, right? Mm-hmm. They're selling you, your eyeballs, to the companies who have bought ads. So you get it for free. So that leads me to targeting advertising, which I'm somewhat of a fan of. I like it when they know I want a cardigan. Cookies is how this works for the most part, okay? These small little files that help you link, and then this creates personalized tracking. So let's try that online tracking video. Let's see if that likes us today. Go back for me.
Oh, that one. Which?
Yeah, right there. Play. Thanks.
Today,
What many of us would love to believe is that the internet is a private place. It's not. And with every click of the mouse and every touch of the screen, we are like Hansel and Gretel, leaving breadcrumbs of our personal information everywhere we travel through the digital woods.
There's a big difference between online advertising at all and this incredibly intrusive practice of collecting your reading habits without your consent.
Google's collecting this information, including things that people say they do not want. All the surveys of consumers suggest they'd rather not be tracked over the internet.
It's about improving relevance. It's about using information that you've shared with Google to make Google products and services more useful for you. What we want to do is we want to deliver products that delight users and that they find extremely useful.
I think the problem here is that we aren't informed about this trade-off. I think some of us would be totally willing to trade our data for free content, and some people wouldn't. And I think most people are just not aware that they're striking that bargain.
If you post your pictures on a public website like this, people can grab them without you even knowing it. Some companies are cruising sites like Flickr looking for free images to use in ad campaigns.
Allison Chang of Bedford, Texas, discovered her picture being used by Virgin Mobile Australia for an advertising campaign. The tricky part is she never agreed to be the model.
There's a big myth out there that young people don't care about privacy, and that is about as inaccurate as you can get.
You have come a little bit of a way. Your phone now asks you if you want to enable this, right? So that is helping those items. But even if you disable that kind of online tracking, you are still existing in the internet. Power likes for me.
The power of like.
Companies know how to turn like into money.
And the advertising machine spinning likes into gold.
Your consumer is your marketer.
Today, people are giving up more and more private information about themselves online without knowing that it's being harvested and personalized and sold to lots of different people.
Facebook recently proposed some policy changes on user privacy. They say trying to clarify language on how some photos and information might be used in advertisements.
The idea was it would be much easier to use your name and image in commercial and advertising campaigns on behalf of Facebook for brands who have a relationship with Facebook. This is madness. I mean, this idea that, if you don't pay attention on day one, that on day two I show up in an advertising campaign for Facebook. I can think of no other major branded company who has that kind of a combination of tone deafness and predatory relationship with their customers.
Facebook caused an uproar last week when scientists from Cornell University, working with Facebook's own data science team, released the results of a psychological experiment that they performed on about 700,000 Facebook users, none of which knew they were participating.
It's sometimes said of Facebook that the users aren't the customer, they're the product. We've developed mechanisms where we can quite accurately predict things like your political preference, your personality score, gender, sexual orientation. And again, it doesn't come from what you might think of as obvious information.
Most media companies, television, radio, publishing, games, you name it, they use very rigid segmentation methods in order to understand their audiences. It's old school demographics. Media companies believe that if you fall within a certain demographic category, then you are predictable in certain ways. That you have certain taste, that you like certain things. And so the bizarre result of this is that most of our popular culture is actually based on these presumptions about our demographics.
When you hit like, when you retweet, when you make any expression online, you're creating data. You're creating a demographic profile of yourself.
You are your own media company. 100%. That's every single person's goal in this.
So all those selfies you take so that people will like them on Instagram, they helped that company sell for $1 billion. Send a tweet, and you help raise the value of Twitter to around $30 billion. And Facebook, it's valued at around $140 billion. Those numbers aren't based on profits, not yet anyway. Those prices are based on the volume of likes they can generate. And likes don't generate themselves.
This event is a pop-up tweet shop for Daisy Marc Jacobs fragrances. There's absolutely no transactions with money that take place, and instead, social media equals social currency.
It's a lot of work to do all of this. It takes a lot of time to retweet everything, to like everything. So I was liking and sharing all of these posts for 4 to 5 hours. My hands were so tired after. it makes me feel like a worker, but it's all worth it in the end because I get more sparks.
So don't catch that Marc Jacobs fragrance pop up. How are those girls buying perfume? They were tweeting about the product. Every tweet about the product, they got a bottle of perfume because the tweet was worth more to the company than whatever the $150 a bottle of perfume costs. This is a weird world. The guy on the video says you're all your own media company, and there's some truth there, right? I will say, I told y'all that I'm the gap generation, right? 77 to 83, and those of you with me, we are the gap generation. We had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. One of the things I see with my current students is this media company mindset, this image crafting mindset. I use Instagram as documentation, right? I want to remember my niece's 2nd birthday next year because I want to ooh and ah over how big she is when she turns 30. I'm not crafting, well, hear me say, I am 100% crafting an image, okay? But not the way a 16-year-old is right now. All of this creates this weird place where you are both building this AI version of you, unaware, or hopefully aware now, but you're also trying to craft it into something that looks like the real you, or the you want to be more likely. And what it leads to is this bubble. So bubbles are not abnormal. We know that people tend to live with people who look and act and think like them, right? Your neighborhood probably has people of the same race, of the same socioeconomic status, and of similar education statuses. That has become worse as we've gone on, right? Older neighborhoods often have more diversity. Houses are different sizes, right? The more we go on, the more the same our neighborhoods get. We've created a bubble. We do this online too. And part of it is our fault, but part of it is the way the filter works. The filter wants my eyeballs, right? Because my eyeballs are what's profitable. My eyeballs and the likelihood that I might purchase something is what they want from me. And so they're only going to show me things that I've told them I want to see. Anyone met a 14-year-old recently? Would you let them pick to only look, read, or see the things they want to see? Does anyone else think that might end up kind of horrible? Right? Like, one of my whole goals in life is to put little blocks in front of small humans as they try to grow up to be good big humans, to try to go, okay, but have you thought about this? Okay, I get it. You've got it all figured out. You're in 8th grade, but like, maybe we think about this. No one's doing that for us. No one's looking at you and going, man, that was your 3rd post today about how horrible the president is. Have you thought about looking at this article? We're not, please hear me say, we are not bad people. I think we're pretty decent people. I think we're trying at least, okay? But we are continuously fed what we want to see. So if you'll go to my next one. The issue here is that filter bubbles begin to influence what we actually believe. If I only see content that affirms my belief to begin with, do I ever stop believing what I believe? That was a really complicated question. I'm sorry. The 2016 election is probably the worst example of this. People were floored when President Trump won. Why were they surprised? Maybe don't answer that. Let me provide the answer for you, okay? I just realized that could be dangerous. They were surprised because their filter bubble told them there was no way he would win. Their filter bubble was full of people who thought and think and voted like them. Think is not the word I wanted, okay? And so their filter bubble said, no, he doesn't have a chance. And so when he won, they were all shocked. How did this happen? Everyone I saw online thought the way I thought. That's the filter bubble. It only was showing you the things you wanted to see. The 2016 election is definitely the worst example, but y'all, it has not gotten better. When I get online today, it will show me what I want to see. And that is not always what I need to see. And I think I'm like a fairly functioning grown-up. Don't comment. So we have to figure out how to break out of this. If I know that I live in middle class, predominantly white Little Rock, that my friends and my family tend to think and vote and act and believe similarly to me, that my world tends to reflect my worldview back on me. How do I break out of that? You will please play that video for me.
It might be the biggest feature of politics in the social media age. It's called an echo chamber, or a filter bubble. What it means is that online, you tend to see things you already agree with. Over time, that might solidify your opinions. It might make you less open-minded and unable to see things from the other side. The effect is mostly caused by two things. The first is your friends. You're likely to agree more with the people who you like and follow on social media. That's not new. We've always tended to agree more with our family, friends, and neighbors. But the other cause of the filter bubble effect is more recent. It's the way algorithms used by social networks tend to show us things we've already shown an interest in. So if you click on links from a particular political party,
America first.
Facebook will show you more of the same, and less of what you don't click on. That's how the social media-powered filter bubble forms. So, how do you get out of your filter bubble? One way is simple. Read stuff from the other side. If you're right-wing, check out left-wing accounts, or vice versa. You can also fool the algorithms. Start liking things you disagree with, and commenting on posts you wouldn't ordinarily read. Do that enough, and you might see stuff you would have missed. New angles on stories you've heard before, or whole new things you didn't know anything about. What will that give you? Well, you might find yourself understanding people with different points of view. You will probably be less shocked if your side doesn't win. You might even find yourself changing your mind.
So we'll talk about confirmation bias at some point. But this filter bubble stuff is tricky. We know that if I like a post by a candidate A, it's happening in the governor's race right now to me. It's probably happening to you if you're interacting in the governor's race at all. I have contributed money to a candidate. I have liked a candidate's Facebook page. I now see that candidate in my Facebook page all the time, right? Great. But what do we do with that? How do we fix this idea? Now, hear me say that video is assuming that all information is good information. It's not getting into bias or propaganda yet, right? I would like, to not like propaganda because I don't want it to increase it. But in general, if I know I have a left-leaning source and a right-leaning source, I'd like to look at both sides. If you go to 23 for me, we're going to skip a little. As adult ADHD is real. One more. Get rid of your dictionary.
I don't know what happened here. Screen stops.
Sharing is pause.
Resume share. Okay.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Please hear me say, I do not believe that this is completely accurate. I don't think there's a way to give you a completely accurate chart. This is a subjective decision, okay? This is done by Advanced Media. They do it every year. They try to do their best. It is not perfect. Please do not get upset if your favorite news source is not where you think it should be. One of my favorite things to do with kids is to have them create this chart blind. And then I show them this chart for real. Small humans are parents of their parents. It's always interesting to see what they agree and what they disagree with. So go back a little for me, Chris, so I can see my, what are my graph lines called? My X and my Y things. Look, math teacher was going to get me there. Okay, so at the top, I have what they're considering center. That's a really hard situation, okay? And then we have skew left, hyperpartisan left, skews right, hyperpartisan right, really extreme. And then down on my left-hand side, I have factual reporting, okay? And so we've placed things here, how reliable it is. Does the reporting tend to come back as conspiracy theories, or is it verified by other news organizations? It gets a little sketch up in here. The AP, which most of us, I think, would consider a fairly neutral source, is where you would assume it would be. That's the Associated Press, right? Center, top. It is facts. There's no opinions for the most part. There's some accusations. Up first is an NPR podcast, the Democrat Gazette. Little right, but still pretty center. We've got NPR, ABC, New York Times, right? Then you start going down and it gets a little sketch. We've got the New York Post, which is definitely a thing. I've had kids try to cite me before, and I'm like, please no. Over on this side, Fox and Friends, OAN, the Ben Shapiro Show. On the left, Occupy Democrats, the Readout, Alternaut. Yeah, okay. Anything below this line is considered real sketch, okay? That's the stuff that is basically just propaganda, okay? Not great, not great. If I was a fully functioning adult, go up to my top middle happy place for me. I would try to read here, where that is a podcast I listen to just to confess all of my sins, right? It skews a little left. So maybe I'm going to read the Democrat Gazette or the Wall Street Journal to help give me a different perspective. I can trust all three of those sources to predominantly give me good factual information. They're going to skew a little left and a little right. And I'm going to hope that I get those two perspectives and can discern what is actually happening. What I am not saying is that if you're listening to Up First in the morning, you should go down to the right-wing propaganda to get your balance, okay? That is not what I'm saying, okay? Please don't. Please don't, okay? But I am saying I want to look at that middle section and I want to think about that. If all of my news is coming from Mother Jones or what's over here, Fox News, which are both pretty skewed left and right, I want to think about that. That doesn't mean that factual reporting isn't happening in both of those organizations. It is. But it does mean that I need to be a discerning consumer of that information. Back on that slideshow, there's a link to Media Bias Fact Check. This is another website. Again, it does have ads. So, I'm sorry about that. But up in the search bar, Chris, type in NPR. For me, please. And again, none of this is perfect. And then click on NPR for me. And I told you it had ads. I'm really sorry.
TCU, boo. Gosh.
That's your algorithm.
Yeah. Somebody's been on my computer.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. Scroll down for me a tiny bit. Okay, here we go. So, Media Bias Fact Check has said that NPR is a little to the left. It's in between left, center, and least biased, okay? Yeah, that seems right. And that it has a high bar for factual reporting. Cool. Left, center bias, Great. If you scroll down a little more, I think they give you some more information about how NPR funding works. So you see they have a good press freedom rating. That's important for overseas news organizations where press freedom is often an issue. So especially like right now where we're getting news out of the Ukraine, or before when we were getting news out of Afghanistan or Russia. Is their press free or is it state-run press, right? That's a good thing for me to know before I share something. It's a radio station, high credibility, and then it gives me the history, funded, ownership, and some general analysis. Scroll back up and let's put in, who do we want to look for? Chris, I'll let you. You got real excited like a giddy child. What you gonna do? Do it. Do it, Chris. Okay, I'm fine with that. There's only one. There you go. All right, and now click on Fox News. And again, scroll down for me. Last updated, did you see February 17th? They continually are updating this. Again, it's not a perfect site, nothing is, but I feel pretty good about media bias fact check. So it's moved it. I will tell you that 5 years ago, Fox News was right center. It's been moved. And it is, what is my factual? Minimum credibility, mostly free. And then down below, it's going to give me my funding information, which is really nice. Is it important to know who's funding our news? Seems like it should be. That's why I like this website. Media bias fact check is especially helpful when I see something on Facebook that comes from a news organization, and I might use that term loosely, that I've never heard of. Okay? Who are you doing now?
Trying to get rid of left and right, both sides.
Yeah. So they put CNN left, they put Fox News right. Mostly free. I will say that both Fox News and CNN, they're including both what we would call their straight news journalism and their opinion news journalism. Okay, that's always something to think about. Our world's gotten a little blurred there, right? It used to be 2 sections of my newspaper. Or I don't know, because I never remember watching the nightly news, but I've been told like it was 2 desks, right? Like when the straight news stopped and you turned to the opinion, it was like a different scene. It was an obvious cut. Some of you that, you know, can testify to that. If I don't harass my mom, she might not love me anymore. It gets a little blurred here now, right? CNN's on 24/7. I don't know that I'm always aware of when it's straight news and opinion news. How do y'all feel about that? That you have the responsibility, maybe even the obligation to fact check your news now. You okay with that?
Well, I think you have to. I don't think it's a choice. I mean, you choose not to, but you know, if you want to have any kind of sense of, and particularly, I find that it's helpful for me to intentionally go looking for things that I know I'm not going to agree with. So from a different point of view, I would normally find, you know, that I would agree with.
Ratings drive dollars. That's going to be the, I mean.
Right. And that's why propaganda is more profitable than straight news, right? Because straight news is boring. It's boring because it's nuanced. It's, you know, what last year during the pandemic, the homeless crisis in LA was all over the news, right? Tent cities everywhere. It's out of control, violence and, you know, horribleness everywhere. Well, the actual story is super nuanced. We're spreading people out because of COVID. We're trying to, LA deals with their unhoused people by like, it's not Providence, but however they divvy up the city instead of the whole city. Like the real story is super boring. The propaganda of a tent city with a caption on it is way more interesting. It's way more likely to get you to click and to look. So all of this leads to this place where we have this obligation to get out of our filter bubble. Can you go to slide 19 for me? I just want you to think for a second about the things that get into your filter bubble. And we're going to close on this. already told you, currently my filter bubble lives one of our governor candidates. I get a lot of education stuff in my filter bubble, a lot of teacher union stuff in my filter bubble, because I think society's mean to us most days. I haven't gotten a raise in 3 years. So, whatever. Cardigans, library t-shirts. These are the things that get in my filter bubble. I think that during the last election cycle, one of the things I needed in my filter bubble was a different political viewpoint, not propaganda, not the extreme, but a nuanced, reasoned, different political viewpoint. I needed to find that and get that into my filter bubble. I know that I need to find people who are not middle class, white, and well educated. I need to figure out how to get those perspectives into my filter bubble, because my filter bubble is very middle class, white, educated. This is not a one and done. I'm not going to get on the internet tonight and go, I found someone with a different perspective and I liked it. My filter bubble problems have been solved. Like all good, hard things, this is an active, ongoing process. We are sanctifying your social media. There's some good theology for the day. It's ongoing, right? Every day. I think some of this makes me squeamish because my filter bubble often resembles my real life. And I don't like to admit how one-sided and narrow it is. It makes me uncomfortable. Next week, we are all on blessed spring break. Praise him.
What's spring break?
What? 18 years, okay? Been teaching for 18 years.
That's an old man filter bubble, right?
But the retired teacher mom on the regular is like, oh, isn't this a delightful day off? Right? No one cares. The week after that, I'm leaving you with Preston. We're going to talk about misinformation and whatever else Preston wants to talk about. We've talked today and last week about just the overload of information and information that gets skewed. But what do we do with information that is purposely misleading? How do we deal with that? That's not a new thing, just FYI. Again, former history teacher. When I teach about wars, I talk about propaganda. It's been around since the dawn of time. Just looks a little different these days. The week after that, we're going to tie up personalization, probably hit bias, give you some more strategies for how to deal with all of this, and definitely end with some hope for the future. I hope today is hopeful. I need a better vocabulary. I hope that you look at this and go, okay, as we break it down, I have some strategies to use with this. I can start thinking about this. There'll be some links to share too. Let me close this in some prayer. Father, we are your people. We are your people in this room. We are your people out on that street. We are your people in our homes and our workplaces. And Father, I want us to be your people on the internet. Help me remember that I am an image bearer, that I'm a light bearer, and that I have the responsibility that brings. Give me the wisdom to discern what is true, what is worthy of sharing, and help me bring a little light. In your name we pray. Amen. Yes, sir.
Where could I find on the internet that picture, that pyramid with all the names of the
Media bias chart.
Mm-hmm. Media bias
Yeah, just
chart?
Google it.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I talked a lot. I didn't leave time for questions. Sorry.